And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Welcome to the Politics, Prepping, and Paranormal Podcast.
Flibbity-jibbity nonsense.
I thought it was terrific.
Not just big, it's yeah.
Let's go.
Welcome, and thanks for listening to the Politics, Prepping, and Paranormal Podcast, and my very first episode of 2025. I appreciate all of you that listened to my show in 2024. Hope you will join me every week this year as I drop new shows with so many interesting new topics and interview and chat with some great guests. I have so much that I want to say, and honestly, last year I kind of held back on discussing some things that could be considered controversial because, number one, I didn't want to get canceled a few episodes into a new show that I had put so much time and work into. And number two, because obviously as a new podcaster, I want to grow my audience. Well, folks, it's 2025, and after thought and reflection, this is my show, and I'm clearly have my own specific views and opinions, that being God and family first. And I love this country, and it is disgusting to see what years of Democratic leadership has done to our once great nation. We're a weak, woke, broken society that cares more about DEI, providing and caring for illegal immigrants that have invaded our country, funneling millions and millions of our hard-earned tax dollars to a corrupt government and a pointless war in Ukraine, defunding our police and fire departments, and the very people that protect and serve us. Men competing in women's sports and using women's restrooms, and the weaponization of our Justice Department against enemies of a corrupt Biden administration. And let's not forget about the veterans still homeless in the streets and our active duty service members disrespected by Joe Biden and his globalist overlords. Well, again, it's 2025, people, and we have Donald Trump back in office and Republicans finally in control of our government. 2024 was the year that we, the American people, said enough is enough. So with that same spirit and optimism, I'm going to take the same approach to my shows in 2025. No more holding back. Hopefully, free speech is back and here to stay. Normally, this is when I would do a roundup each week of some of the big news stories and happenings going on in our country and around the world. Honestly, I was planning on taking a couple weeks off and doing some promoting and working on some new material, but this California wildfire thing is just too big of an issue for me not to talk about. So consider this a bonus episode, and I'm going to skip talking about all the news and jump right into the California wildfires since this is the big news story right now. So, this week, let's talk about the unparalleled disaster occurring in California and the utter failure of Gavin Newsom and the Biden administration to take care of the great people of California and protect them and keep them safe. I want to start by first saying, to the people of California, even though a great deal of you are liberals and don't share the same opinions, values, and political views as me, you are American citizens. And more than that, you're people and God's children. And we love you, and we're praying for you, for your families and friends, for our incredible first responders working so diligently to put out these fires with such limited resources. We love you, we support you, and to anyone, and yes, I've seen plenty of you, who says, stupid liberals, let them burn, or they're just getting what they deserve, or anything along those lines. You're not a true Christian or a patriot, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. I say that because I've seen plenty of those posts, especially on X, from people in some of the groups that I'm in. Shameful. So for anyone that hasn't really followed the news and doesn't really know what is going on, there are multiple major fires, including the Palisades Fire west of Los Angeles, the Sunset Fire in Hollywood Hills, and the Eaton Fire north of Pasadena. At last check, there were more than 450,000 people without power, and about 130,000 people have currently been evacuated. Those numbers probably, obviously, by the time you listen to this may change, but that's the last thing that I saw. A slew of celebrities have either lost or had to evacuate their homes, including James Woods, Mark Hamill, Mandy Moore, Dick Van Dyke, Heidi and Spencer Pratt, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, just to name a few. I've also seen some posts from people showing other lack of remorse for these celebrities, citing how much money they have and claiming that some deserved it. Well, no one deserves this. Just because these people are rich doesn't mean they aren't people, with families and memories in these places just like you and me. The fires are said to consume around 39,000 acres, and initial damage reports are reportedly around $135 to $150 billion so far. And there's speculating there's probably at least 13 people dead. All these numbers, of course, are of the airing of this show. It is sad to see how much better things would be if the poor people of California had decent leadership. For those of you that don't know, the Los Angeles Fire Department is headed by Kristen Crowley, a woke lesbian fire chief that has publicly stated that her top priority is promoting DEI initiatives and trying to attract more women to the LAFD. If you don't believe me, you can go on YouTube yourself and find videos of her doing interviews and talking about it. But it doesn't stop there. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, is a far-left Marxist with ties to an extremist group known as the Venceremos Brigade that attracts and radicalizes segments of American leftists. Did anyone see the reporter that attempted to get a statement from Bass a few days ago? I can't remember what network he was from, but he kept asking her for comment, and she just stood there like a statue. Seriously, lady, I know you didn't have your goons prepare a statement for you to read from, but have a little empathy and say something to try to comfort the families fearing for their lives and their homes. Of course, we can't forget about Governor Gavin Newsom. I'm pretty sure there's a dictionary somewhere with the definition of the word sleazy politician with his picture beside it. Newsom was seen in one interview laughing when taking questions from reporters and has had the nerve to call out President-elect Trump for not visiting California and the devastation himself. I called him President-elect for that reason. He isn't the president yet. He needs to be calling out Joe Biden, who is actually the sitting president, for a few more days. In addition, I've seen reports that said that the Biden administration closed off the airspace for over a day while the fires blazed, with online fact checkers claiming it was closed due to high winds. I'm not sure in that case, but I know the U.S. Coast Guard flies in some pretty extreme weather when it's absolutely necessary, and I would say this qualifies as absolutely necessary. Maybe you pilots can answer that question for us. Let us know on social media platforms if you're listening to this. I also saw a post today on X, which I have not confirmed yet, FYI, that Oregon sent 60 fire trucks to California, and California wouldn't let them in because they were unsure of the emissions on the trucks. There are photos making their rounds online of a letter on December 4th from Crowley to the LA Board of Fire Commissioners, in which she talks about the $7 million reduction in overtime and other budget concerns that outlines the fire department's deficiencies in being able to properly respond to natural disasters and fires, such as what's going on right now. In addition, the LAFD has reportedly been donating surplus fire gear to Ukraine. Freaking Ukraine. I'm so tired of us giving everything to Ukraine. In addition, many of the major insurance companies have stopped insuring homes in California, or at the very least reduced their coverage in recent years, making the nightmare even worse for those affected. Allstate, Chubb, American National, AmGuard, Farmers, Nationwide, Falls Lake Insurance, Travelers, and the Hartford are among some of the insurance companies that have pulled out or reduced coverage for homeowners. So this is all the information you probably already know about the wildfires in California. Let's talk about some of the information you may not know. Full disclaimer here, and I'm going to probably have to say this a lot this year. This is an opinion podcast. The following things I'm about to say are conspiracies that are being circulated amongst different circles. I do not claim that any of these are for sure true. I'm not in California, so all I can do is give you information that I've heard, and well, the truth is for you to decide. The first thing that immediately stood out to me was some of the similarities of what is going on in Cali and the Maui wildfires of 2023. The similarities are just astounding. Power lines being left on during very high winds, fire insurance policies being revoked, water shortages from hydrants, and affected parts having the power grid still on and running. Some of the biggest conspiracy theories regarding the Maui wildfires include arson, missing children, and an intentional attack by directed energy weapons that intentionally targeted and destroyed select areas. The thing that stands out to me the most in regards to both locations is the reported plans to turn both of these areas into smart cities, or as they are also referred to, 15-minute cities. For those not familiar, and yes, I'm not making this up, you can actually find a detailed description on Wikipedia. There is a concept where cities will be constructed that most daily activities and necessities will be easily reached by a 15-minute walk, public tram ride, or by bicycle. The World Economic Forum and the climate nut jobs have been pushing for this all over the world in an attempt to help address and remedy climate change. And this is just my opinion, a whole lot of others. These cities will be equipped with a level of communication and especially surveillance, the likes of which we have never seen before. Have you ever seen the 2008 movie Eagle Eye starring Shia LaBeouf? If you haven't, check it out. It's good. And it's a look into what is, unfortunately, probably our future in regards to AI and government surveillance. I have another good conspiracy theory for you worth checking out. Have you seen the blue theory regarding the Maui wildfires? Social media detectives who have looked at a lot of the aerial views and satellite images of the destruction in Maui noticed a weird, disturbing trend. That blue-colored objects more than often not seem to somehow be spared from damage. Yep, you heard that right. People witnessed blue-colored umbrellas, cars, and most importantly of all, houses that seemed to miraculously not be harmed by the fires. And even more intriguing is one of the particular houses that was spared, which just so happens to have a blue roof, reportedly the home of talk show host Oprah Winfrey. For any of you patriots that have woken up and follow a lot of what is really going on, Oprah Winfrey is a very questionable person. Obviously a huge supporter of the Democrats and the Harris Walz campaign, and has deep ties to Barack Obama, P. Diddy, and George Soros. Literally a who's who of what most conservative patriots consider to be some of the worst and most corrupt people in the world. I've seen so many articles that claim to debunk the blue theory, but I just can't dismiss it so easily knowing Oprah may or may not have been involved. Back to the 15-minute city topic and theory for just a minute. Anyone know where the 2028 Summer Olympics are scheduled to be? Los Angeles, California. Want to know where else is reportedly a planned site for a 15-minute city? Probably the largest 15-minute city? You guessed it, Los Angeles, California. The coincidences just keep piling up more and more, don't they? Would be a lot easier to get it built and established in time for the 2028 Olympics, wouldn't it? Again, I'm in no way saying that any of this is true, but man, it's just so hard to write all this stuff off, knowing all this and knowing what these evil globalists like George Soros and the World Economic Forum have planned for society. Okay, last conspiracy theory for me to throw at you. That is, of course, that the LA and California fires were intentional. I've seen time-lapse videos on social media that appear to me that all three of the major fires started exactly at the same time. Of course, the directed energy weapon, i.e. laser theory, is being circulated again, just as in Maui. People have also claimed that they were started intentionally and more crudely just by people on the ground. None of this is proven, of course, just throwing it out there if you want to take a deeper look for yourself. All right, that's it for this week, and this we'll call it a bonus episode. Now, for the most important part, how can we help? People that want to help can donate to, of course, the American Red Cross by visiting their website or by calling 1-800-733-2767. The Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation by visiting their website or calling 310-552-4139. The California Fire Foundation by visiting their website or calling 1-800-890-3213. the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank by visiting their website or calling 323-234-3030. Or you can always look up any of the churches in the greater Los Angeles area or anywhere in Los Angeles. Donating to a local church is always a great way to make sure your donation money stays local and will go directly to those in need. I haven't taken the time to look up all the churches, unfortunately, but we all know how to use Google, so that's just a thought I figured I'd throw out there. This is the time for patriots and, more importantly, Americans to stand up for and help one another, regardless of our differences in personal, spiritual, and political beliefs. We're all American citizens and should all support one another. I hope you'll think about donating. I appreciate everyone listening to this bonus episode. I'll be back January 25th with a whole series of new episodes. In the meantime, please look me up and follow me on Spotify, X, Facebook, or Truth Social. Have a great weekend, and I will see everyone January 25th. Until then, stay safe and remember to pray for our friends in California.
Thank you for listening to the Politics, Prepping, and Paranormal Podcast. Your source for real news and analysis on politics, prepping, paranormal, conspiracy theories, and the volatile state of the world we live in. Tune in next week and every week for a new episode, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay vigilant.